I like to think of myself as a pretty positive person. I could never pretend to be the lovable, toxic guy, even if I wanted to, because it would just seem fake since it's not who I am. And that kind of extends to my channel, right? I feel like for the most part, we're pretty nice people in this community. Well, today it finally hit me. The image of positivity that I like to live out is kind of a lie. You see, we all have an ego to some extent, the dark side. The only difference between me and a complete asshole is I'm able to hide it better, which I guess in some ways makes me kind of fake. But before I seek professional help, I thought I'd tell you guys the story of how I realized I'm an asshole, and how it took me a single game in Rocket League to realize that. So you might have noticed this video is definitely a little different. Typically I'd have visuals for this kind of story, but I was really struggling with this one because, first of all, I didn't save the replay for this game. So I'm just gonna do the classic gameplay footage while I tell you the story. So just try not to focus too much on what you're seeing, okay? Just close your eyes if you want to, or why don't you just go to another video, mute it, and then you can watch some better footage while I tell the story. So first of all, this was one of my first games of the night. I try to warm up before I play, most sessions, obviously. So I warmed up a little bit, but the interesting thing about this day is I was really eager to play, so I didn't warm up that much. I'm sure you guys have been there as well. So needless to say, I was a little rusty going into this game. Really, the perfect concoction is when I get matched up with a player that's been playing for a while, like he's almost at the end of his rope. And meanwhile, I jump on, not even warmed up, and things get testy. Well, this wasn't quite like that. My teammate wasn't actually acting that bad at all, but we were playing terribly. So we started out the game and immediately gave up 2 goals. One of those games where things just immediately get off to a bad start. And it wasn't like we were just getting, balled by incredibly skilled players. It was clearly mistakes we were making. Anyway, we're down 2-0, and then we scored, and then they scored again. So it was 3-1, and by this time in the game, there were about 2 minutes left. Now at this point, I'm not that discouraged because the goals we had given up were kind of fluky mistakes. I knew I wasn't warmed up, so I knew I could turn it on and still, keep us in this game. But my teammate decides to, wave the white flag and just give up right there. So I almost never forfeit. And I wasn't going to make the exception here. So instead of giving up, I obviously just took that as sort of motivation. It was only 3-1. I wasn't being some hero, it was very attainable. And it would have been silly, in my opinion, to forfeit then. Normally what happens in this scenario is I'm actually so mad at my teammate for forfeiting down only 2 goals that I get kind of tilted and I just don't play well anyway. It's not like I quick chat and talk a bunch of mad shit or anything. I just don't play as well. Well, this was not one of those days. As soon as he turned in that forfeit, I just turned it on. I was feeling great. And I scored some pretty great goals, which is why I'm still really mad that I didn't save this replay, because I actually had a really sick goal. But trust me, guys, it was sick. You just have to imagine it. Trust me. No, it probably wasn't that good, but it felt really good because it was kind of like a solo goal, It was just me just turning it on and playing well for once. Well, before long, I keep this up. Our opponents start to get on their heels a little bit, and before long, hey, it's a tie game. We're right in this. I'm getting a little confident, maybe a little overconfident. Well, somehow I had saved the best for last. I decided to go for this air dribble off the sidewall. It was one of those classic setups where you could either go for a ceiling shot, which that would have been a disaster if I would have went for that. So I just went for a basic air dribble, and I just stayed behind the ball nicely and kind of just dunked the guys, just carried it in. Picture the over 0 dunk in RLCS season 1. It was kind of like that, except a little more basic and way more awkward, but it went in, and it was because of me. Now here's the thing that made me realize that maybe I'm not who I say I am. Maybe I'm not the positive person that I like to think I am, or that I want to be. By the way, there's about 2 seconds left, and now we're up 4-3. The game is pretty much over. We just have to kill the ball. The game is won. I've won the game. I'm not afraid to say that my teammate didn't do anything. I actually carried, and this is rare because I'm more of a support player. You guys know. You guys have seen my gameplay. I'm the one that gets carried. Well, this was the rare exception where I actually carried. So I was feeling really good about myself, which again, you'll see why that led to my downfall. Anyway, a positive person would have just left it at that. It's a victory. There's nothing else you need to say. You've achieved what you needed to achieve. You won the game. It's time to move on. But no, that wasn't good enough for me. I really wanted to rub it in my teammate's face. So I did this in 2 ways. First thing I did, I went to the chat and I typed, haha, this dumbass wanted to forfeit down 3-1. Just kind of shaming him, just kind of showing everyone in the lobby that I was a big hero and my teammate was an idiot for wanting to forfeit down 3-1. So that was a pretty jerk move, but it wasn't enough for me. I couldn't just leave it at that even. To push it even further in case, in my mind, maybe he doesn't have chat on. Maybe he didn't even see that I'm humiliating him. I have to go a little further. So I do the next classic step, which I'm sure some of you guys have done this as well. Almost as if to say, hey, remember when you forfeited? Remember when you voted to forfeit down 3-1? Remember that? Well, now we're winning. Look at this. I'm so confident in myself that I'm just going to vote to forfeit right now just to show you, just to put it in your face and say, look, I don't even care about this game. Well, that seemed like a good idea at the time, because in my mind, there is no way this guy, he had been losing a lot. There is no way that he was going to be so angry at me for carrying him that he was going to accept this forfeit. Well, you might have guessed it. He did accept the forfeit. We lost. We lost the game. And trust me, it feels even dumber now that I'm telling you guys the story. And that is the first time I've ever seen a winning team forfeit. There it was, 4-3. We had won the game. 2 players, so proud they couldn't even just shut up and take the victory. It's like we didn't like each other so much we hadn't even sent a word to each other. That's the other funny part. There was no chatting at all. This was all just, he had said everything he needed to say in that forfeit vote, and I had done the same, except I had gone a little further by typing, this dumbass wanted to forfeit 3-1. That was probably what really pushed him over. But there was no chatting up until then. And as soon as I saw that forfeit go up, the first thing I did was laugh to myself because it was kind of hilarious. But after that, I kind of reflected, you know what? This wasn't the only time I'd got tilted before and done stupid stuff like this. But this was the first time it had directly resulted in a loss. Usually you get upset after you're already down 5-0. Then you start going at it with your teammate or your opponent, unless you guys are all genuinely nice and have never gotten tilted. But I thought you all should know that I do get tilted. No, I'm not the beacon of positivity. I am an asshole sometimes. I just wanted to encourage the toxic people out there that everyone has those moments, and I think the most important thing is we just learn from it. Needless to say, I think through making this video even, kind of learned from my lowest moment. And looking back, I laugh at it. Even in the moment, I thought it was pretty funny. But at the same time, it's kind of sad looking back. It was funnier back then. Now that I'm telling the story, it's somehow less funny. And it's more just pathetic. But at the same time, I hope you guys enjoyed this little story. Sorry if it was boring. I just really wanted to tell it, and I didn't have the visuals for it. So I'd love to hear your stories of toxicity. Those moments where you normally try to be a good person, but, in that moment, you just couldn't hold back your rage. I would love to hear a story of when you became toxic. So please share your stories in the comments, and I'll definitely read them all. And yeah, maybe we can all grow together as a community or whatever. Thanks, guys.